All right, so welcome everybody to the Georgie and Patty show. Today I am here in real life, and here's my assistant Patty is here in spirit today because she is actually helping one of our clients today. So that is great. So today, we're going to talk all about beliefs. And as I was thinking about beliefs and what we're going to chat about today, I'm taking a backpacking course right now. And in the backpacking course on Monday, we were having our class, the instructor was talking about, footwear and getting blisters and those kinds of things. And he says, actually, soft skin is tough skin. And I was like, that's interesting. Because for me, I always believe that if your skin is, calloused and then that's really tough, hard skin. But actually, he was saying that callous skin is more likely to rip, it's more likely to crack, and that really it's the soft skin that's tough skin. So it reminded me of often the beliefs that we hold, and are they true or not? Good question, right? And I just never thought about that. In my mind, if you had asked me, I would have been like, no, soft skin is not tough skin. It's that callous skin. I think of farmers and people working, hard labor and stuff, and that skin is tough. So good morning. That is awesome. I'm going to peek over here. Patty looks good. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys like my rendering of Patty. She's here and happy, which is great. So as we get started, I'll share our quote of the day for you. So, and as you think about beliefs, maybe keep this quote in mind as we go through today's show. So when I hear about other cultures, I think about what they represent in terms of human possibilities, a whole set of ways to see and hear and feel about the world that could potentially resonate with my neurology, a place where news of difference is waiting to be discovered. And that's by Judith Delosier. And I just love that. Like, imagine if we got excited about differences that we're waiting to discover. Like, just how different would that make things be? Like, I think it's so cool. Okay, so now I am going to share my screen with you guys so that we can start our show. Oh, actually, before I do that, I want to ask you guys a question. So as we think about beliefs and the environment that we're in now, so when you think about making money right now, making sales right now in your business, what do you believe about that? And then notice, is that belief serving you? And if it is, then I want you to type yes in the chat. And if it's not, then type no. So you don't have to tell me what the belief is. You don't have to share any of those things, but just notice, is it serving me? Yes or no? Because I'm curious to know, what we're thinking, especially right now when things are so different in our world and we're kind of in the middle of an environment that we're not used to being in. What beliefs are you holding around that? Awesome. Yes, not totally. And often it is that mixture, that combination of things, right? Like sometimes kind of a yes and it's kind of a no. Not sure. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen for real. For real this time. Okay. Oops. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, can everybody see that? I can't actually see the chat at this point in time, so I'm going to go through this. Please put in, any questions or any things that come up for you. I can see it on Facebook, so I'm assuming that you can see my screen right now. And here we go with the Georgie and Patty show. Oh, there's my chat. Okay, got it. I'm gonna do my best here. Okay. So today we're going to talk about beliefs. And beliefs are really the foundation of the script for our life. And they are running all the time. All the time we have beliefs running. Like, you're looking at this slide right now, and you probably have some form of opinion about this picture. You might think it's funny, you might think it's stupid, you might think it's weird, you might think, oh, that's kind of a humorous thing to put on a PowerPoint slideshow for a Zoom show, but something is running in your mind right now. And underneath that is a belief that you hold, possibly about presentations, about professionalism, about business, about how to do things. But our beliefs are running all the time. So today, for your permission slip, I want to give you permission to change your mind. It's perfectly okay to change your mind in your life, in your business, in your beliefs. Totally okay. You have the permission of myself and my partner Patty over here. She agrees. So beliefs really, they're just emotionally held opinions that we reinforce over time. They're not actually facts, there are opinions. And Patty and I talk a lot about, opinions. Everything we share with you is an opinion that's based on the beliefs that we hold. And we talk about in our business, we're looking for the people who believe what we believe. And often, and I think many of you probably know this, but our beliefs are formed, they say, by the time we're about 7 or 8 years old. And they're shaped and influenced by our parents and other authority figures that we have in our life at that time. And often, we're not aware of all the beliefs that we have running. Some we do and some we don't. But it's our beliefs that are dictating, how we respond to certain situations, how we respond to people, how we show up in the world. And like we mentioned in the beginning, some of these beliefs serve us and some of them can actually limit us. And the really great thing is we have the ability to change them. So if they're not working and we're aware of them, we can actually do something about them. So if we look at life, right? If I believe that I will succeed, that things work out, that I will always find a way, more than likely, I probably always will. Now, if I believe that I don't ever get what I want, life is really hard, things never work out my way, I'm probably going to see a lot more of that show up in my life. I can think about, I do hold a belief that everything will be okay. There's always a solution. Life always works itself out. And so my daughter and I were in Paris, and I'm a bit directionally challenged. Takes me a little bit to get my bearings. So we would kind of be wandering and I would get lost, and my daughter, she's like, Mom, she's like, I wish you would worry a little bit more, just a little bit more. If you could just dial up your worry a little bit more so that, we don't walk 15 blocks in the wrong direction before you realize we're in the wrong direction. So for her, she really needs a level of certainty. Her belief is for things to work out, she needs a level of certainty. She needs a plan. She needs to make sure the GPS is working, all those kinds of things, right? So we all are carrying different beliefs. All of the people in our lives, our clients, our future clients, we have different beliefs. And it's looking at those beliefs and seeing what's working for me, what's not working for me. In that situation, I was totally fine with it. She was not okay with it. So we had to look at, okay, what's going to make this situation work? And really, it could have been a clash of beliefs. Oh, Patty's fallen. Put her back here. All right. So quite often too, our beliefs are actually views about ourselves, about others, and about the world that we live in. And these views will determine our actions, our decisions, and the way that we show up in the world. So if we see ourselves, as the tiny little kitten that can't really do too much, it's probably going to affect our confidence. Now, if we see ourselves as that big roaring lion, we might be confident. We also might be arrogant in situations. If we see other people as the kitten or the lion, that's going to change how we interact with them, and how we see the world at large, right? Do you believe that most people are good? Do you believe the world is safe? Do you believe people are always out to get you? All of these shape how we show up and what we do in the world. A lot of you have probably seen this iceberg, and there's lots of things happening in that bottom level that we're not even aware of before they show up in the world. Underneath all this is our beliefs, right? Our beliefs are driving our thoughts, which drive our feelings, which then drive our actions and our results. So beliefs are really kind of a big deal, especially if we're not paying attention to them, if we're not aware of them. Because if we're looking at our life and we're like, I'm not getting the results that I want in my life, what if I can track that down to a belief that I'm holding? What if it comes down to some kind of belief that's stopping me from taking action, that's stopping me from getting the results I want? It's very, very possible. And often our beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. We are always looking for ways to validate our beliefs, to make them true, right? We're looking for ways to be right. It's one of my favorite things to do that I work on a lot, right? But, if I believe people are kind, I'm looking for kind people. I'm looking for ways that people show up to be nice to me. If I believe that people want to have conversations with me, the things that I do, I'm doing because I totally believe that. So it's easier for me to reach out to people. It's easier for me to make those connections because I just believe that people like to have conversations with people. People like to have connection. Now, if I believe that sales conversations are really kind of pestery, that sales conversations mean I'm bothering people, the likelihood of me easily reaching out to people or even getting excited about those sales conversations is a lot less, because I'm going to want to validate the things that I truly believe. So think about some things and notice, what do you believe? What do you believe about people who are late? Does that mean that they're disrespectful? They don't respect your time? Do you believe that people are late only do it because something more important came up? Like, what do you believe about things like that? What do you believe about making sales calls, right? We've heard sometimes on the call, I believe someone said, people don't want to have conversations with you. Is that true? Maybe. What do you believe about making money right now? Do you believe it's easy? Do you believe it's hard? Do you believe that nobody's buying right now? Do you believe everybody's buying right now? What do you believe about spreading your message? Do you believe people want to hear you? Do you believe you're pretty enough, skinny enough, tall enough, short enough to spread your message? Do you believe you know enough to share your message? Do you believe I'm not confident enough to share my message? But really start to think about, what do I believe about the things in my life, the things in my business, things in my family, right? A lot of times we form beliefs that we carry forever without even looking at anything differently. Maybe you believe that your mom or your mother-in-law is just a real know-it-all. I believe she is. Therefore, I'm going to look for ways to make that so true. So true. And often if you're going to do something, so let's say you're going to start a Facebook Live, right? Or maybe you're going to do a video. Something that brings up that fear of like, oh my God, public speaking. What's underneath of that? Because often anytime we start to feel uncomfortable, we start to feel fearful, those thoughts start running in our head of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough. What are you believing underneath that? Do you believe that you're really not good enough? Do you believe that you're going to be rejected? I can think, and these things happen so quickly. Like I can think of the other day when, on our show and the Facebook Live thing wasn't working. So I was like, oh, I'll just go on my phone quickly and tell people on Facebook that we're going to do it on Zoom. That initial, oh my God, Facebook Live right now on my phone? Ugh. What will I look like on my phone? What if I don't say it right the first time? What if it comes out stupid? What if it's not valuable? All of these things are running in my mind, probably because somewhere underneath that, I believe on some level, I'm not good enough to do this. And we all have these things running, and it takes practice to sort of slow down and look at them and get curious about, oh, what am I believing, and is this actually helping me? One of the, I love the work of Byron Katie. I think these 4 questions can do so much to turn these beliefs around that you're holding, the ones that aren't really working. Like if I look at, is it true? I'm going to go do, I'm doing the show today without Patty. What if no one shows up? What if I can't do it without her? Is that true? No. If I said yes, can I absolutely know it's true that I can't do this show without Patty today? When I start to think about that, how do I react with that thought? I could go into a total tailspin of no one's going to show up because nobody likes me, because Patty's better, because I'm not good enough. Now, who would I be without that thought? A lot more confident, that's for sure, right? So it can be a really simple process to be able to use different things just to question your beliefs and then start to shift the perspective around them. Because sometimes that's all it takes. We just need to break it up a little bit. And now the more ingrained the belief is, the tighter we want to hold on to it, the more challenging it is to gain a different perspective. And we don't always want to, right? I truly, truly, truly believe that we should create environments where people feel like they matter. Right now, I'm never going to change that. Maybe later, but right now, I feel like that's not going to change. I'm not willing to give up that belief because for me in my life, it serves me. And again, like Patty and I say all the time, this is about you. It's about you looking at your beliefs and you deciding, does this belief serve me or is it limiting me? It's not about anybody else. So today I thought I would also share with you 10 beliefs of a heart-centered leader. And I'll go through these. I'll share what they are. I love these beliefs. These are my opinions that I am emotionally attached to. I love them. I invite you to hear them, maybe try them on and see what works for you, right? This is all about experimenting and trying things on and seeing, do these things make my life better? Didn't like that so much. What works, what doesn't? But I want to share these with you because these tend to be some kind of universal beliefs that many heart-centered, purpose-driven leaders are holding. So the first one is, each person is unique. You know, there is a wealth of untapped talent in every human being. I really believe that we all have greatness inside of us. We all have amazing gifts that, you know, when we help people show up in this way and help them to see those gifts, we can help them to actually release their talents. And when we show up that way, we relate to people a little differently. Like if every person you meet, you think, oh, this person has an untapped talent inside of them. They have some greatness, some gift. Let me see if I can find it. I'm so curious. Imagine how you might show up with future clients, with sales calls, with people that you meet on the street. Number 2, everyone makes the best choice available to them at the time they make it. You hear Brené Brown talk a lot about this, right? Everyone's doing the best they can, right? We all make the best choices in this moment with the information that we have, right? So when we believe this belief, it allows us to be a little more understanding, a little more compassionate, a little more empathetic. It doesn't excuse bad behavior. It doesn't excuse, you know, horrible things that people do. It just gives us maybe some perspective, a little bit of room, a bit of a gap to look at things a little differently and maybe respond in a way that we would like to. How would I like to show up in the world? Like I find this really gives me just enough room to not react, but I'm able to actually respond in a way that I would like to. There's no failure, only feedback. Also one of my total favorites, right? Because things are, you know, we're not perfect at everything we do. And we are literally learning machines. I believe human beings, you know, we really like to learn. And when we hold this belief where, oh, everything's coming in just as feedback, not actually as we suck, we're more open to learning new things, which means we can move forward faster. Like imagine if you look at things in your business as, you know, oh, I'm going to be doing a Zoom presentation now because everything's gone online. Oh my God, I totally bombed that. I didn't know how to share the screen. I didn't know how to set it up. I didn't know how to do the password. I suck. If you go there and just, I'm a complete failure, I'm never going to make this happen. The odds of learning and moving forward, not as good. If we go, oh, I realized I really didn't know how to use Zoom. I didn't know how to share my screen. The thing I'm doing here isn't working. That's feedback. So then I can go, who can help me, or how do I learn this? But it keeps me moving forward so I can share my message with the world and I can make a difference, because as a purpose-driven, entrepreneur and leader, that's really important to me. Number 4, behind every behavior is a positive intention. This one I think goes along with, there's a reason for everything. Everything is a learning experience and an opportunity for growth. So not always easy. And I think sometimes this one, getting to the point of recognizing that, oh, that situation that just happened, I can see that there was learning in that and there was growth in that. So when someone does something that we don't particularly like, maybe they say something, they do something, maybe you've been laid off from your job right now, right? Could there be a positive intention behind that? Right now, you might be looking at that and going, I don't know what that is right now. It sure doesn't seem like it. But if you hold the belief that behind every behavior is a positive intention, and that you recognize that somewhere in this, there will be learning, there will be growth, and I can find the silver lining in this, it's going to make transitioning through that easier. And I'm not saying it happens at the very beginning, but I'm saying that by holding this, it's going to make that transition a little bit easier for you. I know for me, there have been certain things where, and the last thing I wanted to hear from somebody when something happened was, well, at least this will be a great learning experience. I wanted to tell them to, go F themselves. But if deep down, I knew that there would be learning and growth that would be positive for me. And I had to get there. And sometimes that takes me 6 months to find it. But holding this belief makes it easier when I really just want to, cry and curl up in a ball and knock it out of bed. 5, the meaning of communication is its effect. This is one of my absolute favorites. So while we cannot, we don't have control over a lot of things in our environment, a lot of things in the external world, we don't have control over other people. What we do have control over, though, is our impact in that environment, our effect on other people. When we say things, what is the response that we're getting? So when we hold this belief, we show up differently. There's a lot less blaming, a lot less judging. We might no longer have problem customers, right? Or when our clients aren't doing the things we want them to do, we start to look at ourselves, and we talked about this yesterday. Am I providing everything they need to make this change? Am I clear in my communication? What am I missing? What else can I do to affect the situation? How am I speaking? If someone responds to me in a way that's not the way I intended them to respond, I can go, hang on a second. What's my part in this? And then I can change that. It's a very empowering place to be, I find. This one I think is one of my favorites, my very, 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 very favorites. I think I might say this about all of them, but I really like this one. Okay, number 6, there is a solution to every problem. When we believe this, anytime we have challenges or obstacles and things come up, we're more solution focused. So we're looking for, what can I do? Let's take the environment that we are in right now. We are in isolation. There are many businesses that are not operating right now. So we kind of can have 2 choices. We can go, this sucks. This is a problem. There's nothing I can do. I'm just going to not make any money and die. Or we can go, what if we held a belief to there's a solution to every problem? Okay, I'm in self-isolation. The way I currently did business has changed. What else can I do? When we talked about creativity in one of our shows, this is where whenever we are thinking that there is a solution, we are much more creative. We're looking for different things. Our brain starts functioning different because we're holding a belief at a core level that this is true. So I just have to find it. I know there's a solution there somewhere, and I just have to find it. How would that impact your life right now? Number 7, we have within us all the resources we will ever need. This doesn't mean that you know everything right now, you have every skill you'll ever need to do anything you ever want to do. What it means is that you have the means to figure this stuff out. So if my Zoom's not working and I don't know how to share my screen and I don't know how to do Facebook Live, I know that I know how to find out. I can read it. I can ask someone. I can hire someone. You know, if I want to be a coach, I can be like, oh, I know, okay, I could be a coach. What do I need to be a coach? Maybe I need to go to school. Maybe I need to learn some skills. Maybe I need to do some practices. Maybe I need to do some role plays. But I have within me all the resources to figure these things out, to find whatever it is that I need, to learn whatever it is that I need. And when, again, we hold that, more possibilities, more resources are available. We start to see things that we might not have seen before. Whereas if we do the opposite of, I can never do that, I don't know anything, there's no way I can figure that out, it creates a different environment and we show up very, very, very differently. 8, the person with the most flexibility in thinking and behavior has the greatest influence. I love this one because I think, you know, it gives us more choices. When we're flexible with how we think, we're flexible with how we behave, we start to look at things with, oh, that didn't work. What else? I start to be more curious in how I'm showing up, right? If I'm having a conflict with someone and I'm like, okay, or I'm doing a negotiation with someone, if I can be flexible in my perspective, flexible in my point of view, flexible in, you know, what I will do or won't do, this allows me to have more influence in the whole situation. And it's honestly just more pleasant for me. The mind and the body are part of the same system. You know, we often talk about everything is part of a bigger system, you know, and we're not just little silo pieces here and there, and we are no different. And our mind and body are very much part of a system. You hear me talk a lot about, you know, learning to trust yourself, what really works for you. Tap into that authentic you that's in there. Listen to your gut. This is all your body speaking to you. And when we learn to slow down and we learn to listen to our body, we can then, you know, send that on up to our mind to make different decisions, to make different actions that we're going to take. Look at different opportunities. What actually, you know, feels good to me. And from that space of being, am I resistant? Am I trying to hide from something? Is this a fear? But when we really learn to tap in, what is the trueness of ourself? What is that inner knowingness that there's just no doubt of? It's a really, really beautiful thing. And it becomes a lovely guiding system, you know, and I think when we hold this belief, it also helps with some of our self-doubt. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not sure. But the more we practice this, the less our self-doubt is. Number 10, knowledge, thought, memory, and imagination are the result of the sequences and combinations of ways of filtering and storing information. So what does that mean? What that means is, you know, we have information coming at us all the time. We take it in through our 5 senses, it goes into our brain, we run it through our values, our filters, our beliefs, all of those things, and then it affects how we show up and what we do, right? It's kind of like that thoughts, feelings, actions give us results. We're running things in these sequences all the time, all the time. When we can learn to understand how we filter that information, how we see the world, what patterns are we doing, we can change them. You know, oh, when I think this happens. When I go to that place, I feel really crappy and then I show up like this. That's interesting. But often we are always running on autopilot. We're not noticing and we're not aware of what are my thoughts, what are my feelings, what are my actions, what are my beliefs. Oh, when I believe this, I do that. Interesting. When we start to really kind of dissect those things, we can see the patterns. We can see how we are filtering information. Oh, when I see a person who looks like that, I believe this. I think that. I do this. Is that getting me where I want to go? When I do something that does get me where I want to go, oh, I noticed when I showed up at that talk and I really rocked the stage. Oh, I practiced a few times. I meditated before I went on stage. I took 4 deep breaths. I did some power poses. I thought to myself, I'm going to rock this talk. I'm here to provide value for people. That was my intention. Oh, when I did all of those things, I showed up differently. My result was different. But it takes a little bit of practice to break these things down and see, how am I doing that? What's my sequence of events to get there? So these are the 10 beliefs of what I believe for a heart-centered leader. And here's the great thing. You can take them or you can leave them. But you can think of beliefs kind of like trying on new clothes, right? So I'm going to the store, I'm shopping, I put these new clothes on, and I can keep them for as long as I like, right? And as I do that, I can discover, oh, how does this feel on me? Do I like the way that feels against my skin? Do I like the way it looks? Do I like this color? Do I like the fit? What's the reaction I get when I wear these clothes out? Oh, I like it. I seem to be really accepted in this. People are curious about me when I wear that. I like that reaction. Does it fit me properly with how I want to be? Okay. Now, if I don't like them, I can return them to the store and keep wearing my original clothes. No problem. Maybe I like 1 or 2 pieces. So I'm going to keep those and mix those in with my original clothes that I have. Or maybe I'm like, I love these things so much. Out with the old, in with the new. I have a completely new wardrobe. Beliefs are absolutely like that. Those 10 I just shared with you, try them on. See how they fit. See how they work. See how you like your world when you're using them. Pick 1, pick 2, pick all 10. Don't know, right? But just be willing to experiment and see what happens. Other people's beliefs. Oh, I'm going to try that one on. See what happens. Maybe I'll hang it back on the rack. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll shift it a little bit and mix it with something I'm already carrying. But the beauty about beliefs are you can change them and you can try them on or not. Okay, I'm going to stop my sharing now and go back to our chat here. I love trying on the new clothes analogy. I think it's super fun too, right? Because often we take these things as being super serious and super hard, and and often it doesn't have to be. I think the more fun we can make things, the easier it is to create change, and the more willing we are to try something new, to see what happens. Any questions, thoughts about beliefs? I'm going to put Patty back here. And then I'm going to check on Facebook on my phone and see what we have going on over there. I'd love to hear, did you notice any beliefs that you're holding right now which you thought, oh, I hadn't thought about that? And I love it when that happens, when I get something where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it. And to be in that space, I absolutely have to be open to seeing it. If I'm, stuck in my thing, which I can often be a lot of times, it's not easy to see the new ways of being or the new ways that I want to show up. I like the, okay, yes, I believe I'm more focused on creating my business so that it works long-term. And virtual session mean clients can come from anywhere. Yes, right? What a positive is that? Yeah, it's easy to see what our beliefs are. Just look to your life now and see what is so very true, right? It's, if you don't have the results that you want in your life right now, look back at what are you believing is possible? What are you believing that is leading to your thoughts, your feelings, the actions, the decisions you're making, and ultimately to your results? Is that Patty next to me? Yep. Here's Patty. There she is. Okay, I'm really trying to focus on my beliefs right now. Oh, hang on a second. I gotta go up a little bit. Everything you shared in this webinar was very valuable. I'm really trying to focus on my beliefs right now. Amazing, awesome, so good. I'm struggling with behind every behavior is a positive intention. If I can understand this in an extreme situation, that would be helpful. Twice in my life, I have experienced the murder of someone I was connected with. How would you apply this belief to these situations? I get it that these are unusual experiences, but I would love to see it through your belief. And that is a very, very, very challenging one. So I'll share a personal experience for me. So I had a someone physically attack me that I knew, right? Physically attack me, choke me, beat me, all those terrible things. And so in the moment, of course, I'm not thinking there's a positive intention behind that behavior at all. Not at all. I'm thinking there's no way. When I could step back from it, and it was more honestly for me to heal and for me to move through it, I'm thinking, does anyone, and I think there are, I'll just put a little piece in here. I think there probably are some people who are like sociopaths, psychopaths, those kinds of things where their neurological capacities and how they are wired, they don't have the ability to maybe even see right from wrong, or they think that's right. And I think that's just a little bit kind of messed up. And if I hold the belief that even though I don't understand it, somewhere underneath that, there must be some kind of positive intention. So let's take my dude, okay? I believe, and again, I'm just making this up because it makes it easier for me to handle the situation probably. So we were at a party kind of thing. He was drinking. He was feeling left out. He was uncomfortable. He was awkward. He didn't know anybody. All of these things were happening. So I believe his intention was to get my attention. Now, how he did that, absolutely inappropriate, right? No way. And if I can hold the belief that behind that behavior of what he did, the positive piece of that was he wanted my attention. Now, how he went about that, completely unacceptable, completely inappropriate. So that's one example. If I think about, and this is, if I think about someone who was murdered, and actually I'm going to give you an example of someone that I know, who was convicted of murder. So let's go from his perspective, where he got into a situation with some people, and I don't know if he did it or if he didn't do it. Their intention was to rob this person without the person waking up and knowing. So their intention was, I need money. Now, rather than think of, there's a solution to every problem, I think I'll go get a job, they thought, there's money in this house, we're going to take it. They thought that was the best action to take at the time. Again, we look at that and go, no way. Like, that's not the best option. But in their mind, they really believed that. They were emotionally attached to that. They went there. The person woke up. They ended up hitting him on the head, and he died. In their mind, I believe their intention behind it was to escape and not get caught. Again, how the action they took, totally inappropriate and not acceptable, and there are consequences to that action. But if I can hold in my mind, okay, can I find any positive intention behind that? Okay, so it doesn't excuse the behavior. I really believe what it does is it helps us to almost heal or find some kind of way to move forward with that. You know, I think if you were to, like, let's take a really, really extreme case of Hitler. Hitler really believed he was doing the right thing. Like, he really believed there was a positive intention between everything he was doing. We look at that and we're like, there's no way that's okay. I believe killing people is wrong, totally wrong. That goes against my beliefs 100%. But somewhere in his mind, he thought that was okay. So I think it's really, it's not to right or wrong people, but it's almost more for our own way of healing and moving forward, is to look for that. So I hope that that helps in some way. I hope that I answered that in some way. And again, it's not easy in extreme situations at all. And they are extreme. And I think it's giving ourselves the time. I think if you want to jump to that belief right away, I think you're bypassing stuff and you are not healing. So I think it's also good to not use these things as a way to just suppress, ignore, and numb things down. And I think it can help us move forward. Okay, I'm going to back up here. Thank you for the 10 beliefs. I would like to use them. I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason. Sometimes we don't see it in the moment. However, later on, we can reflect on it. My life-changing scenario happened in 2006, and now I look back and say, wow, I'm on a new path. Yeah, and it's not, I certainly don't think it's that these things are often easy, and they do take time, and it's part of that and situation, right? We have to look at the context of where things are, and it's a journey, and there's lots of things we have to go through. These aren't just a quick, let me put the Band-Aid on it, right? I believe the abuse I was a recipient of was intended to help me see I need to set boundaries for myself to show me I am a strong woman. Yeah, right. It's what do we go through, and what's the learning that we need for ourselves, which again is also a very personal thing to move forward, right? This is a very positive way to look at it. You are now a stronger person. In that moment, I was thinking, why me? Exactly. And I think it's okay to do that too, right? Why me? Why is this happening? All of those things are totally fine. It's life is a process. Things don't just happen, instantly overnight. Okay, let me go check Facebook. Can you talk more about the meaning of a communication is its effect? Absolutely. This is one I really, really like. So for me, I can give you a couple of examples of this one. So if I'm having a conversation with someone, and my intention is good, and maybe I want to, maybe I want to offer advice to someone. And if I'm paying attention and I can see that their reaction to me is not what I intended, maybe they're getting upset, maybe they're being resistant, maybe they are totally just checking out, then that's where I can go, I can check back in. I can go, okay, this isn't the reaction I thought I was going to get, and then I can be like, so my intention here is to help you. Am I helping you? No, you're not helping me. You're just trying to fix me, and I don't want to be fixed. Okay, thank you. What can I do right now to help the situation? Oh, well, I just need you to be here and listen to me. Great, I can do that. But if I'm not aware of these things and I'm not noticing what's happening with the person in front of me, if I'm not getting the results, let's say from a client, right? So we use the example, I think it was yesterday, we were talking about the role plays, right? So if we have someone who is doing a bunch of sales conversations, let's say they've done 15 sales conversations with someone and they haven't made one sale. Now, I can go, what's their problem? They're not doing something, they're wrong. They're not doing something right. Or I can go, hang on a second. What else could be happening here? What's my part in this? Maybe I haven't communicated how to do this conversation correctly. Maybe they didn't fully understand pieces of what I taught them. What can I do to change this environment? And then I just, it's more about me taking ownership of what I want. Now, sometimes someone might be just like, I don't really care. Off, right? Okay, there's not much you can do about that in that moment, especially if you've, checked in, you've tried doing different things. There's often nothing you can do, and that's okay. But it's knowing that I've done my part, that I have being aware of the effect of how I'm showing up, the effect of the energy I am bringing to a situation. I think that's really important too, right? Often things are nonverbal. And I do believe that our energy affects situations and environments. So how am I showing up? Am I aware of that? Am I doing something different? or not. Does that help? You can let me know if you have more question on that. Okay. I had a former supervisor who said she recommended to others and said she herself always assumed positive intention first. Having that belief can give extra time and space that can prevent jumping to a negative conclusion of someone's observed behavior or words. Exactly. Exactly. Totally. And sometimes it's just space, right? I love that term about the gap. Sometimes I just need to make my gap a little bigger so that I have the space to choose how I want to respond. Yes, the message is what your audience hears, not what you say. Absolutely. Exactly. Exactly. So if they're hearing it differently than what you intended, then you can take that responsibility and go, okay, how can I change this? What do I need to say? How do I need to say it? Do I need more visuals? You know, what is it to do it in a way for them to understand? You know, and if we bring this back to what Patty and I often talk about being really client-centered. How do I say the things about what I do, and how do I attract the people into my business in a way that they can hear me? What is a way to effectively communicate to them? What do they need to hear? What are their problems, their concerns? Because it really is all about the person on the other side of that communication. If you want it to be effective, if you want to be heard, if you want to have the dialogue. Because I know for me, as soon as I step into my place of self-righteousness, which I can do, everything locks down because I'm not taking ownership of myself. I'm not taking ownership of my part in this. And it's really ineffective. And that happens in our businesses all the time, right? We get so excited about what we do and how we do it and how we can share it with people that we forget that, wait a second, we're not on the receiving end of this. Who's receiving it? How do they want to hear it? And if I'm not getting the results I want from my marketing, from my messaging, from my sales conversations, maybe I need to look at how am I communicating that? What am I saying? Am I saying it in a way where the person on the other end of that is just hearing blah, 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 blah. The only thing you talk about is you, right? Maybe that's where it's happening. But if I can take some ownership of that, I'm more likely to catch the things that aren't working and then shift them and change them. Oops, I'm just slipping. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Let me check Facebook here. A lot of people that hurt others, they are hurting so much themselves. True, right? It comes back to that bit of having compassion and empathy for people. And I am absolutely not saying that we excuse inappropriate behavior or there are not consequences for things that people do that are inappropriate. I'm not putting that excuse out there at all. It really comes back to really it's almost a selfish thing of ourselves. How is this going to help me be better to show up? How is this going to help me heal? How is this going to help me get more of what I want, right? Even if we look at the communication thing, if I communicate in a way where people can hear me, I'm more likely to be able to help more people. I'm more likely to, you know, find those future clients that are out there and bring them into my business. But if I'm totally unaware of it and I'm not willing to take ownership of that, it's a lot more challenging, you know. And because science says, you know, that we know that our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and our results are often driven by our beliefs. By holding some of these beliefs and really making them true for ourselves, we can change how we do things. And I think that change can happen a lot more rapidly, which is great. And then we can help more people and do what we're supposed to do in the world, for sure. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Oh, this is a good one. Are you ever afraid you won't be able to correct a wrong impression someone gets of you? Or are you confident in that skill? There's always, I think, the the chance that you can't correct that first impression. However, I think that with communication and taking on these beliefs, I think it's always a possibility, right? And it comes down to being willing to step up, being willing to be vulnerable, to be willing to own in your part, you know, in that situation. I can think of, because this has happened to me, and I was having a really bad day one day. Things weren't working the way I wanted them to work out, and I had to go to the bank. And there was a new teller at the bank, and I was like, I needed her to just take this check, do this thing. It was for one of my clients at the time, and she's like, I can't do that. And I'm like, I know you can do this. No, I can't do that. I'm like, you can do it. And I'm getting really, really frustrated. And rather than be calm or whatever, literally, I freaked on her. Like, I just freaked out, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. You could do this if you really wanted to. I am, you know, this is stupid. I'm changing my bank. I'm never, like, just ridiculous, making a stupid scene and being just ridiculous. So I leave, I come back the next day or so. Anytime I would get in line and go up, if that teller was available, she would close her thing and would not serve me at all. So I was like, all right. So I go up to the teller, and the teller's next to her. And so I lean over to her, and I'm like, excuse me. She's like, you know, look of fear on her face. I said, yes. I'm like, you know what? I said, I'm really, really sorry. I said, when I was in here the other day, I said, I was a super bitch. Like, she goes, oh no. I said, oh yes, I was. I said, I was having a really bad day, and I 100% took it out on you because you were the person in front of me who just wouldn't do what I wanted when I wanted. And I'm like, I am so sorry. And she didn't know. She's like, oh, okay, you know. But then every time I came to the bank, she'd make sure she'd open when I came in. So do I think you can change your first impressions or wrong impressions of people? Yes. And you have to be willing to put in the effort to get vulnerable, right? To recognize if someone sees you in that way, it's having the conversation, right? Hey, I'm asking, I get the feeling that we're having a disconnect, that there's some tension here, that maybe possibly I have done something that I'm unaware of that has created where you're not super happy to see me, or you don't really like me, right? And it does take some courage and vulnerability to be able to step into that and go, I'm just getting a feeling here that something's not working. And it opens up the conversation to changing those impressions of people. I've done that sometimes with people too, where I'm just like, and again, this comes from beliefs that I'm holding, literally, where I went into a person and I was like, why am I so resistant to that person? And this sounds super terrible, like super terrible. And I'm going to say it anyway. And it's terrible. And I'm like, I just don't like her face. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why when I look at her, I think I don't like her. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like literally, I believe every person matters. And this is awful. And I really had to go in and I'm like, okay, what is this about? Like, this is not how I want to show up. And so literally I'm aware that this is what's happening for me. And there's a belief somewhere underneath that. And my best case of unpacking this was that she reminded me of someone who I didn't have a positive experience with. So I was projecting that onto her, and she had nothing to do with it, right? So I'm like, okay, I would make a point of talking to her more, getting to know her more. It turned out we had tons of things in common. It was super awesome. But if I had held that thing, and I could feel the tension in her, and it wasn't her, it was me, because I was showing up with, I don't like you because I don't like your face, which is terrible. And I needed to dig underneath and look at the beliefs that I had underneath that, and then take responsibility for a new way of communicating and a new way of showing up. Can you talk about how you change a belief, especially an ingrained one? Yes. And, you know, again, it can be a process. So I think the first step is noticing it, knowing that it's there. What is the belief I'm holding, and does it serve me? I do like walking through Byron Katie's examples, right? Of this. Is this true? Can I be absolutely certain that it's true? Who would I be without these things? And can I turn it around? Now, things that are really, really, really ingrained, there are different, like I'm a big fan of NLP. I'm a master practitioner of NLP. So they have a lot of change work around beliefs that are really useful as well. And I think this awareness of what it is, and then looking at, is this true? And then going above that. So let's look at, who do I want to be in the world? So as a purpose-driven entrepreneur who is heart-centered, how do I show up every day? What are the beliefs that this person would have and that they would hold? And list those things out. And then look at this belief that's really, really driving you and go, does it fit? Probably not. And then who would I be without that belief? And what would I need to believe instead? Where does this belief show up in your life? How often does it show up? What are the impacts of this belief? What would you like to believe instead? And again, I do believe a lot of this is a process. And the more you recognize that, so when that ingrained belief shows up, and then oh, actually what I'd rather believe is this. Can I replace it with that? Right? How would I like to act in this situation? So it's that awareness, and then taking that almost conscious action of doing those things to help change it. And like I said, there are a lot of different modalities and things out there too that can help you change belief. Like there's NLP, there's Psych-K, there's a lot of different modalities that you can use to change ingrained beliefs, depending on what works for you, right? What kind of person are you? Do you believe that those kinds of processes will work for you? If you don't, they're not going to work, right? So those will just give you kind of a few things of how you can change beliefs. There's a great book called Core Transformations as well, that they kind of go through some belief change work in there. Yeah, there's quite a few different things. And if you'd like to chat about that further, feel free to, send me a message, give me a call, whatever. I'm happy to kind of talk it out with you and kind of customize it and figure out what might help you with some of those more ingrained beliefs. I remember a time when I finally found out that a person had misheard a conversation I had with another person. She had a very bad impression of me erroneously from a half-heard conversation and treated me very poorly. I finally got brave enough to talk with her and figured out why she had a wrong, bad impression of me. The relationship got a lot better after that. Amazing, amazing. And it takes, I commend you on your bravery to do that. And I think that that's part of the thing of that belief of, being willing to take responsibility for our communication and what's happening with the people around us. And that communication can be either verbal or, like I say, energetically, we can just kind of feel it. And those kinds of things are not easy. It is not easy to go up to someone and be like, hey, I think you think poorly of me, and I think you might have heard this conversation. And being able to create the space where that other person felt safe enough to tell you what they heard and to say, yeah, I was kind of feeling that way. That's a really, really amazing thing. And I think that that's what happens when we can show up with the right intention, when we truly hold these beliefs, when we truly show up in that space of being heart-centered, of being caring and compassionate and empathetic and, caring about other people. This is what happens. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, I'm reminded of my need for more courage and bravery regarding communication. Very good food for thought today. Thanks so much. You're very, very welcome. I think these are things sometimes we forget about. And it's really great to be in a community of people where it's like, okay, because we've all done these things, right? And we think we're kind of, it's just us, but it's not. And we do have the ability and the capacity to change how we show up in the world and how we show up in our lives and how we show up with people. And when we take that back to what do I truly believe and who do I want to be and what beliefs would I hold as that person, and am I doing that? So that's awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, we are 2 minutes over time. Thank you guys so much for showing up today, for being part of the conversation, for all of the questions and the interactions. As Patty and I say, this works because you show up, because you're here, and we have someone to talk to. So we will be back tomorrow. Patty will be back in true real life form tomorrow. And we will see you guys then. Have an amazing Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye. Oh, thank you for the compliments. Awesome. Okay, bye guys.